Okay, today's lesson is real-world context for multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So in other words, word problems that involve multiplying and dividing. And the questions that we're going to answer, what real-world situations involve multiplying and dividing rational numbers? We looked at this a couple days ago, so we'll be looking at some more. And how can you write and solve equations to solve real-world problems involving multiplying and dividing rational numbers? Okay, so our first problem says free diving is an underwater activity in which the diver does not use scuba gear. When Josh free dives, he can descend 2 feet per second below sea level. How far below sea level can Josh descend in 6 seconds? Okay, I want you to think about that for a minute. And think about how you might solve that or what the answer might be. Sometimes it's easier with these integer problems to actually come up with the answer and then go back and write the equation. Because some of you think very well mathematically, but you have trouble formulating it into the numbers. Okay, any ideas? Jake?
Negative 12 feet.
Okay, negative 12 feet. Can you tell us what operation you performed or what equation you wrote to solve that?
Okay, so it says you can descend 2 feet per second below sea level. So sea level being 0. And then in 6 seconds he's going to get 12 feet. Well, I took 6 times 2 is 12, and since it's below sea level, negative 12.
Okay, so you didn't really put the integers in until the last minute. You kind of just did 2 feet below, 2 times 6 is 12, and then you made it a negative 12 because it was talking about below. Okay, that works to do it that way. The proper equation really would be if he's descending 2 feet per second below, you'd want to actually start with a negative 2. And then if he does 2 feet per second, we're going to need to multiply times the number of seconds. So negative 2 times 6 would be negative 12. And when it's asking you how far below sea level, if I were to say as a sentence for my answer, what sentence could I write to express my answer? Elena?
Josh is negative 12 feet below sea level.
Okay, but if we say Josh is negative 12 feet below, that's like what we were talking about the other day with grammar. Yeah, you just want to say 12 feet below. So if you're summing it up in a sentence, if you're using the word below means negative. So we can just say Josh can descend 12 feet below sea level, because the word below means that it's a negative 12. Now, if you were asked to express your answer as an integer, you would want to just express negative 12. So you either say he's at negative 12 or he's 12 feet below. Okay, next question. And what I did was I took the same kind of question and I turned it into some fractional amounts. Because what often happens is we can immediately see when the numbers are easy what we should do, and we can figure it out. And then we see a fraction, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's a fraction. And you don't think as clearly as you do with whole numbers. So I want you to try the next one. Frank also free dives. When Frank free dives, he can descend 1 1/3 feet per second below sea level. How far below sea level can Frank descend in 5 seconds? Okay, let's take a look at this problem. Kaylin, can you tell me how you solved this?
I did 1 1/3, negative 1 1/3,
Okay, negative 1 1/3 times 5, and what did you get as your answer?
6 2/3.
Positive 6 2/3? Negative 6 2/3. So how could you sum this up in a sentence?
Frank can descend 6 2 feet.
Good. Frank can descend 6 2/3 feet below sea level. And again, you don't want to have a negative sign in front of the 6 2/3 here, because when you're saying 6 2/3 below, you're already saying that it's negative. Okay, let's take a look at the next problem. Martha is conducting a science experiment. She changes the temperature of a chemical solution by -3 degrees Fahrenheit each minute. What is the total change in the temperature of the solution after 12 minutes? Violet, what do you think I would do to solve this problem?
12 times
Good. 12 times -3, or -3 times 12. And what is 12 times -3?
negative.
Good. And so how could you sum that up in a sentence?
Change temperature negative.
Good. And since you didn't specify whether the change was an increase or decrease, you would want to use the negative just like you did. So the change, the change in temperature was -36 degrees Fahrenheit. You could also say the temperature decreased by 36 degrees Fahrenheit. If you used the word decreased, you would want to use the number as a positive number. Okay, now let's look at a similar problem using fractions. Sydney is conducting a different experiment. She changes the temperature of her solution by -3/4 degrees Fahrenheit each minute. What is the total change in the temperature of her solution after 11 minutes? Adria, can you tell me how I would solve this one?
I did -3/4 times 11 over 1.
Okay. So you changed the 11 to 11 over 1. Okay, and what did you get as an answer?
My improper fraction was -33 over 4, and my final answer was -8 over 4.
Okay, very good. How could I express that as a sentence?
The total change in temperature was -8 over 4 degrees
Degrees what?
Fahrenheit.
Good. Change in temperature was -8 1/4 degrees Fahrenheit. How could you say that a different way in a sentence without using a negative sign? Using some sort of negative word instead. Zoe?
The temperature decreased 8 1/4.
Good. The temperature decreased 8 1/4 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. The next question is a lunch account question, because you guys always come up with good examples with your lunch accounts, and I decided to make one. Evelyn forgot to turn in her lunch check. She has no money in her account, so she's at a zero balance. If she buys 3 lunches this week for $3.25, what will be the balance in her account? Michaela, how would I solve this?
We would do $3.25 times 3, and I got -$9.75.
Okay, were one of these numbers negative then if you got a negative answer?
Yeah,
Which one?
the negative.
Okay, did you say that and I missed it? Okay, -325 times 3 equals -975. So you could just answer this. How would you say it in a sentence?
Evelyn has
Negative
$9.75
in her account. Okay, now the next problem is a multi-step problem. Let's read it together and then I'll give you some time to think about that one. Jimmy, we have used you in the word problem, Jimmy. Jimmy has a balance of $5.50 in his lunch account. He also forgets to bring a lunch check. If he buys 5 lunches this week for $3.25, what will be the balance in his account? Okay, so I want you to think about that. I'm also curious, what does it cost for a student lunch?
Like $3.50.
Like $3.50? Okay, so I was a little bit off. I was just guessing.
A school lunch is $2.70 and a
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to pause this, give you a chance to think about this one. Okay, Jimmy, if this happened to you, what would the balance be in your account by the end of the week? Yeah, you can say the answer. Good, negative $10.75. Can you tell me what you did? Okay, so what did you do in your head?
I did 325 times 2 got 650 and subtracted it like $50. And then I did the same process, got 750, and then I added one more to 25 and got 175.
Okay, good. So you figured out 2 lunches at a time basically and subtracted it from the 550. Okay, good, good, that works. Anyone have a different way, simpler way of doing it? Violet?
I did $3.25 times 5, and then got $16.25, and then I did $16.25 minus 550.
Okay, so you did this and you got 1075. Was your answer positive?
No, it was
Okay, so what should have been negative somewhere along the line to result in a negative answer?
$3.50.
Yeah, this should have been a negative because it's taking money out of his account, resulting in a negative answer here. So then when we do negative 1625 plus 550, the end result is negative 10.75. I actually should not have done what I just did and built this equation off of another equation. That's not a good thing to do. That's called a run-on equation. So you should not do that. It's okay to have your equation go to multiple equal signs as long as everything within the equal sign actually equals the same amount. And that wouldn't be true if I did it that way. So I should not have built off that number. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Let's look at the next one. Randy pays his mother $4 each week because he borrowed money from his mother to buy a skateboard. If he paid back a total of $32, how many weeks did it take him to pay her? Devin?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Okay, what do you do to solve that?
32 divided by 4.
Okay, so 32, whoops, divided by 4 is 8. So you thought of it just in positive terms. You were thinking about the amount he owes her. Could you have thought of this in terms of negative numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah? How? What would
No
it be?
idea.
Zoe?
Negative 32 divided by negative 4.
Yeah, you could have done negative 32 divided by negative 4. So here's an example of when you might use 2 negatives in real life. He paid back a total of 32, so that's a negative 32 to him, right? And he paid $4 each week, so he was losing that money every week. So we could also write that in terms of negative. Okay, let's look at the next one. Enrollment at an athletic club is changing at a rate of negative 12 people per year. At that rate, how long will it take for the change in the club's enrollment to be negative 84 people? Grace?
7 years.
7 years. What did you do to come up with that?
I did negative 84 divided by negative 12.
Good. Negative 84 divided by negative 12 would be 7. So it would take 7 years to add 8 weeks on there. Okay, any questions about either of those two? Okay, the next slide just has some kind of interesting longer problems. I like this one. Haley spent the day at the fair. First, she bought 3 piglets for $25 each. Later, she bought 2 goats for $40 each. After that, she found a $20 bill. Then she returned 2 piglets. Write the total change, that should say change. Write the total change to Haley's funds as an integer. Okay, so I want you to figure out how much Haley's funds are going to change by. And I also want you to attempt to write a nice long equation that you could use to find the answer.
What do you mean by where the funds as an integer? Sorry to say that.
As an integer, so as a positive or negative whole number. Okay, and then you could also try the question about Ross. Ross, do you play video games? Okay, so that was a good question. Okay, so I'm going to pause this, let you guys think about this for a minute, then we'll talk about it. Okay, let's look at this problem. I'm going to take volunteers on this because I saw a lot of wrong answers. Adria.
Tried to say my answer. Okay, I got negative $85.
Okay, negative $85 is the right number. How could we write an equation as we go along for each step of this problem? Adria, did you write an equation?
Yeah, I did in parentheses 2 times $40 for the 2 goats.
Okay, I'm just going to hear the whole thing before I write anything.
Plus, and then I did another parentheses 3 times $25 for the
Okay.
piglets. And then plus negative 20 for the dollar bill. And then plus negative 50 for taking the 2 piglets away.
Okay, so you consider, the only thing I don't agree with is you consider the found stuff and the return stuff to be negative. So you consider that to be negative. So did you first get a positive answer then?
Yes.
Yeah. So how I would do this a little differently is if she bought 3 piglets for $25 each, she's spending $25. So instead of 3 times 25, 3 times negative 25, because that's what she's spending. And then she bought 2 goats. So buying 2 goats would be negative 40. A little extra line in there. Then she found a $20 bill, so that's just one $20 bill. Give me a second to finish this up. Then she returned 2 piglets, so she got money back from returning the 2 piglets. So 2 times 25. All right, take your break. We'll resume with this when we get back. Okay, let's finish looking at this. So if we were to solve this then, for the piglets, she spent $75 total. For the goats, she spent $80 total. Here's the $20 bill that she found. And when she returned 2 of the piglets, she got back $50. You could also, if you were trying to solve this problem in the real world and you couldn't think of an equation, you could make a 2-column kind of list. Here's all the amounts I spent. Here's all the amounts I earned or found or whatever that was a positive credit to your account, and then you could compare the two. Kind of like when we play the integer game, how sometimes you add up all your red cards and then you add up all your black cards and then you compare them. So when we do this, we get negative 155 plus 70 for a total of negative 85. So her balance was negative $85. Okay, Ross, you probably guessed I'm going to call on you for this one. What was the change to your score, Ross?
95 points.
95 points, good. How would you write that as an expression?
I did 135,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put in parentheses negative 40 because I missed 2 targets and 40 points.
Okay, good. So I'm going to put a plus sign in there too, an addition sign. So you lost 20 points for each of the 2 targets. We could also express that as 2 times negative 20, kind of a step before your step. So what you ended up with was 135 plus negative 40. So you just did this part in your head and ended up with this. Yes, that's correct. Any questions about that? Okay, your homework for this section is just going to be Get More Math for today. We're also going to be doing our Get More Math quiz and our facts quiz today.